open the meeting of the St. Mary's County Board of Education for Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. If we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we will begin with the superintendent, and our student member is in AP exams this
AP
week.
testing.
So, good luck
May.
to everyone. It started last week, and I think it stretches through what, next
Next
Friday?
week, yep.
Yeah. So,
So a lot of things have been going on. Obviously, we've been very busy. The month of May is the month of recognition, celebrations, and culminations. So last week, the Forest Center Capstone Project Gala was held. Incredible work that goes on with those students who are in 2- and 3-year program. My favorite was the Buick Roadmaster with a heavily modified Corvette V8 and side pipe sticking out the side of it. They were great. They were great things. There were great things throughout. Later that same night, we had the Great Mills High School STEM Seniors Showcase for the class of 2025 at Great Mills High School. All of these photos, by the way, are courtesy of Miss Mary Washington. Bless you. There's so many. If you don't follow Mrs. Washington on Facebook, you are missing some of the best photos and really an insight into what's going on with our school system. The incredible projects and where all these students and what their next steps are going to be. These truly are going to be our leaders and innovators of the future. What a talented group of people. That evening, I didn't get to go to the All-County Jazz Concert because I went to the NAACP and we talked about literacy, but Mrs. Washington and our Deputy Superintendent J.R. Beavers were there, and they got called up on stage to do rhythm and actually perform. So they were part of the concert, and they did very, very well, Ms. Baker said. Very, very well. All of our Purple Star schools were recognized up in Baltimore at the Maryland State Department of Education and their State Board of Ed room. To all of the staff that made the trek up. A ride to Baltimore used to be an hour and 40 minutes, maybe. If you are traveling to the city, you definitely need to give yourself 3 hours up. And depending upon when you leave, probably 3 hours back. So everybody's on the road. So, and we know that down here as well. Rising Freshman Orientation Information Night on 4:30 for our Spanish speakers. This is we've been doing this for several years, and each year we see a growing number of parents coming out to be comfortable in their native language, speaking about what comes next for their children. Wonderful event, and certainly well attended. And thank you very much to the Lexington Park Library for allowing us to have a really great space to draw everybody together to get people started off as they rise into their high school careers. Betting for a Cause on Friday night. Everybody came out to support Clements Cuties and all of their work. Again, beautiful pictures.
there I am. The second one.
Yeah, that are
Thankfully
all,
not eating a funnel cake.
Yeah, we definitely didn't post one of you eating a funnel cake or a side profile of
Yes.
Scott. So. There is some discretion in all that, but a wonderful evening showcasing all of our leaders in the communities and our great kids, our great student athletes who are definitely there for one another and for the greater community. Staff recognition last night, a beautiful evening and an inspiring evening. It is now streaming. If you weren't able to join us live, it is streaming. Please take the time to go through it and watch it and hear the speeches being made by those individuals who are recognized. It reminds us why we're doing what we're doing and gives us something truly to aspire to. Every single person that came up and spoke, that's exactly who you want to be or want to be next to. So here we are in May, AP testing, all the other testing, stuff, all the way through. But we are quickly moving through it. Full week next week, an abbreviated week after that with an early dismissal, Memorial Day holiday, Tuesday, get everything ready, and then I need everybody's concerted effort to wish for the very best weather for the 28th, 29th, and 30th, as we will again have outdoor commencement exercises beginning at 10 o'clock at each one of the schools. And so we do have plans in the event that it's inclement, but we really want to have those beautiful outdoor events. So please, let's all hope that comes out very, very well. And with that, that's all I have.
I have one thing.
Oh, yes.
Congratulations to the Leonardtown softball girls who won the SMAC championship last night. Some of us did double duty and left the teacher appreciation and went to, because it was Chopticon, Leonardtown, and softball, extra innings. Leonardtown came out the victor. And unfortunately, the Leonardtown boys fell to Huntingtown. So, so congratulations to all that participated and to our SMAC champion.
Great season.
So,
Good stuff. All right. Thank you.
all right. Oh, that's back to me. Sorry.
Back to you.
Okay. All right. We have recognitions. We have 3 this morning. The first one is School Library Month with Miss Wysakinski. Somewhere there she is.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
April 2025 was the 40th annual National School Library Month and the perfect opportunity to talk about the importance of our school libraries. Across the board, each school library here in SMCPS is unique to fit the needs of its individual students, staff, and community interests. My original script was changed after watching the budget hearing on April 22nd. Instead of coming here to remind everyone about how important libraries are for literacy and improving standardized test scores, I want to focus on how libraries affect students on a personal and more meaningful level. Because I could not get 28 substitute teachers, I had to choose thoughtfully about who I would invite to today's board meeting. But it was a tough decision because every single media specialist in this county is creating an atmosphere that encourages community, collaboration, and social interaction. Everyone mentioned in today's recognition is here with us today. All of our SMCPS media centers are unique to their student populations and needs. No 2 buildings are alike here in St. Mary's, and our library programming is designed so that it reflects the needs of the school community that it serves. At Great Mills High School, Ms. Cole regularly has SAIL classes visit so that she can read to students and make real-life connections to the stories. Pairing fiction and nonfiction allows students to make a text-to-text, text-to-self, or text-to-world connection. Great Mills High School is also regularly visited by the Lexington Park Public Library staff and the St. Mary's County Mobile Library. At Chopticon High School, Mandy O'Neill, who also serves as the president-elect of the Maryland Association of School Libraries, encourages students to become avid readers and to be actively engaged and involved in the Black-Eyed Susan book nomination process. The Black-Eyed Susan Book Award is a student choice award in Maryland that encourages literacy and reading skills. It's a program where our Maryland students nominate and vote for their favorite books in various categories, including picture books, chapter books, and graphic novels. The award is given annually, and the winners are announced in spring. Last summer at Park Hall Elementary, Darcy Deering took advantage of hosting summer media activities by using a grant that I oversee that is funded by Title IV. Our summer media program draws in students in the summer months to come into media centers to read, to create projects, or to build and design activities based on books. Last summer, Ms. Deering's students were building birdhouses, planting seeds, and creating periscopes from pool noodles. At Letty Dent, April Wathen is consistently advocating for all students and was the 2017 School Library Journal Hero of Equitable Access, along as the 2020 Maryland Association of School Libraries School Librarian of the Year. That's a mouthful. The School Library Journal Award was a nationwide award, and the representation by Ms. Wathen proves that St. Mary's is dedicated to making sure that all students are represented in their school community. And at Duke Elementary School, Mary Owen organized the SMCPS Battle of the Books, which drew in 26 teams across 9 elementary schools. It was so successful that the Battle of the Books is continuing again tomorrow night, for those of you who want to join, May 8th at Duke from 5:30 to 7:30. The Battle of the Books has drawn in even more interest and teams from across the county this year, and I do anticipate that it will only continue to expand. When listening to the St. Mary's County budget hearing from a few weeks ago, so many people showed up in support of our public library system. Last year, the public library worked with me to ensure that we had extra copies of all of our Battle of the Books selections available at all their branches. The public library also provides St. Mary's County with Scholastic Book Flicks, which, if had to be funded by SMCPS, would be upwards of $20,000. The team at the St. Mary's County Library has been partnering with us for years. Libraries are cornerstones to the individual communities they serve. Students feel safe in a library. Students know that they can find themselves in the books in their school library because our libraries are curated by staff who know their students' interests and needs. Ultimately, school libraries nurture curiosity, creativity, and a lifelong passion for learning. A library is arguably the only place where someone can find vetted and research-based information in a world that is often filled with misinformation. Now more than ever, we need to ensure that students have access to reading materials that incorporate viewpoints from all different angles and to continue to encourage intellectual freedom. So thank you for allowing me the time to recognize our SMCPS school libraries and their staff, and a huge thank you to the Board of Education for always supporting our library programs. And that is it. I think Mr. Smith has a resolution that you can possibly read for us.
Yes, I do. And then it would be lovely to have those in attendance who you have highlighted to come forward, and we'll take a picture so that we might. All right. Whereas the school library is to ensure that students and staff are effective users of ideas and information, school libraries provide materials which reflect the ideas and beliefs of different religious, social, political, historical, and ethnic groups and their contributions to the American and world culture. And whereas the school librarian's role is to provide the leadership and expertise necessary to ensure that the school is an integral part of the instructional program of the school. The school library contributes to the individual growth and development of all students while fostering both excellence and equity in education. And whereas the Board of Education has entrusted the school librarian in each school to teach the skills of locating and using information through traditional resources and new technologies, to provide literature appreciation activities, and to guide and encourage content and recreational reading to every student. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of St. Mary's County does hereby proclaim April as the School Library Month and calls upon school administrators, teachers, students, and citizens of St. Mary's County to recognize and support the month of April and all the other months, the celebration of school libraries and librarians. Signed this day. So, could we have everybody up and come on, you're here.
And it would have been in April had it not been spring break and I
Yes.
missed the deadline.
Yes. But it's going to be officially in the center. Well, then you're as close to the center. There we go. How lovely. Let's have a great picture. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have School Nurse Day. Ms. Long.
Good morning. Today
Morning.
we're celebrating National School Nurse Day as well. And I'm happy to celebrate with two of our school nurses that came out this morning. And I'll ask them to come up now. Miss Catherine Robeson from Leonardtown Middle School and Miss Alicia Briggs from Hollywood Elementary. Today, it is essential that we recognize the importance and perseverance of our school nurses. Throughout the daily operations, the school health services team is oftentimes found to be working in the background, but rest assured, their vigilance and professionalism aids in bridging the gap between health and education, ensuring that our students are ready to learn. This school year so far, the nurses have completed over 145,000 visits. Our school nurses are a liaison to the school community, families, and healthcare providers. They promote health and wellness and make a positive difference in the lives of SMCPS students every day. I would like to extend my sincerest appreciation for all the nurses on our SMCPS school team and invite Dr. Smith up to read the resolution.
Whereas May 7th, 2025 has been designated as School Nurse Day in St. Mary's County Public Schools. Whereas school nurses are professional nurses that advance the well-being, academic success, and lifelong achievement of all students by providing a critical safety net for our children. And whereas school nurses are a liaison to the school community, families, and healthcare providers on behalf of children's health by promoting wellness and improving health outcomes for our children. And whereas school nurses are members of school-based teams providing care coordination to address the school population. And whereas school nurses understand the link between health and learning and are in a position to make positive differences every single day for our children. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of St. Mary's County, we recognize May 7th as School Nurse Day in St. Mary's County Public Schools, and that all staff and students are encouraged to recognize this event and participate in its observance by not visiting the school nurse. 140. My gosh. Shall we- Well, we have the paper here. I mean, my God. It's not to say that Miss Williams doesn't take lovely pictures too.
Can you guys just move over to the left? Perfect.
Oh, that's it.
He's trying to take your job, Dr.
So
Smith,
much.
I know.
adjusting the
Adjusting
picture.
people. Okay. All right, and now we have Pupil Personnel Worker Day. Ms. Weaver.
I'm just going to sit here because that's it'll be that much closer.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kate Weaver from Student Services. It is my pleasure today to recognize and express appreciation for all of our PPWs. Our PPWs collaborate with schools to assist and remove obstacles faced by students and families, including those affected by poverty, homelessness, mental health issues, trauma, and foster care situations. Their commitment and knowledge in meeting various needs enables students to achieve their maximum potential. This vital work relies heavily on the support of our school staff and equally significant our community partners. Today, joining me is Miss Kim McElgott. She supports this year Chaptacon High School and Esperanza Middle School, and Miss Elizabeth Foote, our PPW and court liaison. She also supports Leonardtown Elementary School, the Charter School, and Town Creek Elementary School. Miss Elizabeth Foote is truly a valuable resource to community, the juvenile justice system, and all community partners. Her expertise and dedication make her the point of contact for everything. From building support to community outreach, Ms. Foote's vast network of contacts ensures that she always knows just who to call to get things done. As an ultimate team player, she consistently goes above and beyond to work for the benefit of students and families. Her willingness to share her knowledge and insight positively impacts everyone around her, making her the better professionals and individuals. After dedicating 30 years of the field of education, Elizabeth has chosen to retire. We are excited to see her embark on this next chapter of her life. She has been a crucial contributor to our community. Her unwavering dedication has been recognized, and we are fortunate to have had her on our team. Ms. Kim McElgott consistently exceeds expectations in her role. Her effective communication with administration and her readiness to undertake additional responsibilities deserve recognition. She excels in engaging with individuals in a manner that is both sincere and compassionate. She actively monitors and intervenes with students with her chronic absenteeism, provides support to our underprivileged students, and constantly conducts home visits when necessary. As a strong advocate for our students and their families, she tirelessly works to eliminate obstacles that hinder access to education, ensuring all students can attend school. The staff, students, and families, and us are very fortunate to have her on their side. In recognition of all of our PPWs and the important work that they do, I invite Dr. Smith to share the resolution. I brought an extra.
Oh, you made it big too. Thank you. Whereas Wednesday, May 7th has been designated as Pupil Personnel Worker Day in St. Mary's County Public Schools, and whereas pupil personnel workers are specialists trained to consider and assess the needs of the total child and serve as the school's liaison with the family, community organizations, and social agencies, and whereas pupil personnel workers work collaboratively with the resources of home, school, and community essential to the good mental, emotional, and physical health of each child necessary to advance effective teaching, learning, and achievement in schools. And whereas pupil personnel workers play a unique and essential role in the personal and academic development of our students, these dedicated professionals nurture the growth, maturity, and responsibility that adulthood and good citizenship require. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of St. Mary's County, we recognize May 7th as Pupil Personnel Worker Day in St. Mary's County Public Schools. We ask all staff and students to recognize this event and participate in its observance. You've heard from us countless times. Attendance, school attendance matters. We have a fantastic, dresses up in a suit, it's a dog. But Sam, it's never, things with children, it's never simple. Things in education, it's always complicated. And it is emotionally investing work to actually help a parent and a family and a student reestablish regular attendance if they've slipped off that path. And I can't say enough about the work that each one of you do. So thank you very much. Appropriate to recognize. Let's get a great picture. Because you have earned. Now he's going to make us move all the way over because we have the center under here. There we go. Lovely, lovely. Good job. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're going to have a great summer, so please enjoy it. Thank you.
Okay, we have no public hearing, public comment? Okay.
Miss Sarah Finrod?
Oh.
Sarah, do I have to read my statement?
No, ma'am.
Okay, there you go. You know the rules, 3 minutes, Kim's timing.
All right, good morning. As president of EastMig, I want to take a moment during Educator Appreciation Week to give a shout out to all of our amazing educators and support professionals. Every single day they go above and beyond, not just teaching lessons, but inspiring curiosity, offering emotional support, managing busy classrooms and cafeterias, and making sure our schools are safe and run smoothly. Whether it's a teacher staying late to help a struggling student, a school nurse making it all feel better with a Band-Aid, a bus driver greeting kids with a smile, or a building service worker making sure the building is clean and welcoming, every role matters. And together, they help create a positive, supportive environment where students can grow and succeed. We are incredibly fortunate here in St. Mary's County. Unlike many other counties we won't name, we have a Board of Education that consistently shows up for our teachers, for our students, and for families in all of their diversity. That support does not go unnoticed. And I want to say how relieved I am that the commissioners chose fairness yesterday by allocating the funds needed to support our negotiated agreements. At least for the coming year, our staff can hopefully count on being compensated fairly for the hard work that they do. Thank you for your continued partnership and for always, or at least 99% of the time, standing with us. It sure makes my job a lot easier. Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Today's consent agenda consists of the approval of minutes of April 23rd, 2025, personnel teachers, and personnel administrative and supervisory. So with that, I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have no action items this morning, but we have 3 information items. The first one is Mrs. Bachner with the program updates and revisions for our school year of 2026. Yikes.
Good morning.
Better get these approved.
I don't like always to be the first info item because I have to figure out the slides. Ta-da.
Ta-da, look at how fast you were.
Gold star.
Well, good morning. I'm here to share with you program updates and revisions, 2/3 of which you're already aware of and have already been presented to the board, but we thought it was a good time of the year to make sure we recap and answer any questions from the board about our plans for next year. The first one I'd like to share is an update to environmental education. As you know, on October 22nd, we came before the board and we shared with you that the Elms Environmental Center was closing, not by our own decision making, but those decisions above us. We took a look at that time at the Maryland Environmental Literacy Framework to make sure that we are teaching our students the environmental literacy that we are required to do, as well as meeting COMAR requirements for environmental education. So what we decided to do, we have a wonderful partnership with Sauterly, and we were able to work with Sauterly to make sure that we can continue our required programming, which is at 2nd, 5th, and 7th grade. So that environmental programming happened all year, is happening right now today with Spring Ridge Middle School in 7th grade at Sauterly. And so we're able to meet those requirements, give those students a field experience. 5th grade still gets to do their canoeing, as they have done every year. And then high school environmental education, as we have done in all the past years, are embedded in their curriculum, in the high school curriculum, and most often are done within the school site, within the school day. Occasionally, they would take field trips to Elms, but not all classes, and hopefully by next year we'll be able to offer a couple of those classes next year at Sauterly. So for next year, we expect to do the same thing because it is working for us. We are getting feedback that it is working for everyone, the students, the teachers, and the staff. We will continue to have 2nd, 5th, and 7th grade at Sauterly and provide that programming. And the high school environmental education standards will continue to be within their curriculum and done at the high school site. And I'm going to pause there because that's all of my updates for environmental ed. So are there any questions on environmental education for next year?
I think so.
Okay. The next one I want to share with you is a middle school and English language arts programming, and it will be changing a little bit next year because of our resources. So up through this year and for the past several years, we have been able to use College Board's Spring Board program for our advanced literacy students in the middle school, and they are no longer, as of this year, publishing that. So they're not supporting it, they're not having any of the digital platforms, which of course is what we use in addition to novel sets and things like that for our English language arts. But what we are able to do is, and that you've already approved as a board, is continuation of Savis's My Perspectives ELA, which has been updated to provide a lot more differentiation tools within that curriculum. So they have print resources and digital resources for both struggling and advanced learners. And it has those resources for both teachers and students, which we have purchased because of board approval earlier in this year. So what we'll need to do next year is we will continue to have for 90-minute English language arts blocks, as we always do. For 6th graders next year, one of those blocks will be with My Perspectives in a whole group setting. And then the second 45 minutes, we will use data from 5th to 6th grade, as we always do, to determine more heterogeneous or homogeneous groups of students so that they have literacy labs at those grade levels to meet their academic needs. We'll have the gifted and talented students who are identified in their own class, and then we'll have advanced learners, on grade level learners, developing learners, and then at-risk learners that most often need a specialized intervention during that time. 7th grade will be much the same. However, most of our middle schools in 7th grade will continue their practice. They have a 90-minute ELA for 7th graders, but if you are identified as a gifted and talented English language arts learner, that will be continue. You'll have a 45-minute class, and then your other 45 minutes, as our current practice, you'll have Spanish 1 rather than a literacy lab. And then in 8th grade, we will have the same programming next year as we do this year. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew of the rationale for the change. It is basically for resources. The other thing is that COMAR, Gifted and Talented, does require that we have differentiated programming for our gifted and talented students, and this makes this much more clear and that we're in compliance with the law. So we will continue to use collection matrices, data collection, as we always do this time of year, to determine which literacy lab a student should be in. We have, in the last many years, and will continue to do this year, sometimes parents and or students are not pleased with their placement. So we offer reassessments during the summer where people can sign up to either be reassessed to be in an advanced literacy lab, or they can also be assessed or reassessed to be gifted and talented designation. So we have that assessment in the summer too, if somebody would like their child to be reassessed. And then we're also looking for interventions now, because we will have the time and space with that literacy lab for our at-risk kids to do some real good tier 2 interventions. And right now we are working with MSDE to use the STARI program, which is piloted, so that they will help us with funding and getting that tier 2 intervention off the ground next year, hopefully in middle school. So I'm going to stop there. Are there any questions about the ELA programming for next year?
So is there a time frame in the summertime that they can come in, or are you gonna give the parents advance notice?
Yes,
on the
so
dates?
what happens is if a parent, they will get, I believe, their placement identification, I think it's at the end of May, beginning of June. And all the schools will make sure that we've already sent a blurb that all the elementary schools will put a notification in their SMOR for the week, that information is on the student's home access center. So a parent can go into a home access center. If they have problems with that, they just let the school know. We can do a printout of the letter, and it will share on there what the placement is, and then it will ask them if they have a concern about the placement to make sure that they contact their school and understand why the placement decision was made and what data was used. And we want them to know that, because the middle schools don't know that information in that child, the elementaries do. So they can do that through the end of June, and if the parent has asked for a placement or a reassessment, then they call our office, we give them a name, and then one of our secretaries actually schedules the time with them. So it occurs every single week during the summer, as parents call and ask for a reassessment.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the last one I want to share with you is elementary areas special scheduling. This is exactly what Dr. Smith shared with you, I believe at 2 board meetings ago, or if not the last one. So I just want to reiterate what we have all agreed to in our next steps. We are going to keep next year the 10-day schedule. We are going to utilize a cohort model for 3rd grade strings, and then 4th grade for strings and band. We are going to allow 45 minutes a week for 1 4th grade chorus and 1 5th grade chorus per school to have a pullout, but it needs to be at the same time every week, so teachers and students can plan accordingly for that. We will be developing a best practices sheet to be shared with principals as well as teachers, so that they are able to kind of use those best practices when they're scheduling. All class rosters and schedules will be entered into eSchool TAC and HAC, and that is not our current practice for band, strings, and orchestra, so we're very much looking forward to that. Music teachers can teach any of the musics. They can teach strings, general music, band, and chorus. And then schools can choose if they want to start that cohort model day 1, or if they want to, they have at the latest the Monday after Fair Day. To give you a little bit more information also is that we are reconvening that teacher work group next Wednesday afternoon to do some final thoughts on that. What we would like to do is work with the team to do the best practices sheet. We also want to work with the team to come up with a form that would be uniform that all schools can use and put on their letterhead. So students in May, if you're in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, can kind of sign up for the music class that they want. So that will help us with scheduling, as the middle and high schools do the same thing, and it will also help us if we need to purchase some instruments, because we may have some more students signing up, which we hope will sign up for band and orchestra than we currently do.
It's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem to have. Okay. So any questions about that?
Good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our Our next two items are Ms. McCourt with the financial report and the budget update.
Good morning. So before you is the financial update for fiscal 2025 as of April 30th. Year-to-date revenues have been received at $265.7 million against the budget of $292.5 million, representing 90.8% of our revenues received year-to-date. On the expenditure side, we have encumbrances outstanding of $73.2 million. Year-to-date encumbrances and expenses $281 million. And available balance currently of $11.4 million. The amount encumbered or expense year-to-date represent 96% of our budget. We are continuing to monitor our special education costs. This has been fairly common over the years, whereas our out-of-county placement students, the transfer line is currently in excess of budget of $181,000. However, within the category, we are still projecting positive, and we are currently at 96% of budget. Are there any questions on this year's financial report?
Nope. Okay, we'll get our 2026 budget update.
So this has been an incredibly busy fiscal budget to monitor both at the federal, state, and local levels.
It's, we need to reset here. It's mirroring. You don't want it to mirror. No, it's within the output thing here. So.
She had a.
Uh-oh. There we go. Now just forward it from here.
Okay.
There you go. For the record, that's the first time I've ever walked up there and haven't broken it, so.
It's early yet.
That's right.
Okay.
The lightning strike will come.
So we're going to start by looking back at where we left off at your last board meeting. So the state update as of your last board meeting on April 7th, looking back to where we started in January. So our projection from MSDE back in January was $147.5 million. And that projection was based on what was established in existing law before the General Assembly started. Existing law mapped out exactly how much money we were going to be getting on a per pupil basis for all the blueprint funds, foundation, compensatory education, EL money, special education, and so on. For multiple years. So we were able to easily forecast this out with a pretty good level of accuracy, with the exception being any variation between LEAs for wealth purposes. Then we had the budget bill drop. We also had the BRFA, and then we also had the Excellence and Maryland Education Bill. We had to monitor all three of these bills consecutively during the 90-day legislative session. As of March 21st, under the Senate Bill 429, which was the Excellence in Education Bill, there was a projected amount at that time of $144.9 million in state aid revenues, or a decrease compared to existing law of $2.5 million. So that was obviously incredibly concerning. As of the end of General Assembly session, House Bill 504, which is the House bill version of the Senate bill for the Excellence in Education Act. The total amount passed was $146.5 million, or a decrease of $1 million as compared to what existing law is. Now, I'll preface this by saying that these are my calculations because the state, MSDE, has not officially released the state aid calculations for next fiscal year yet. I am incredibly comfortable with these numbers to be using and presenting to the board and public for purposes of our planning for next fiscal year. MSDE, as of last Thursday, stated they are waiting for the chapter bill to be posted before distributing the updated calculations. I'm hopeful that that comes before I have to present to you in 2 weeks for your approval of the budget, but
The bill was just signed yesterday.
well
So,
then,
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
yeah.
We'll
But I
see how
mean,
fast state
So it
government
could
works.
change.
No, it can't.
No,
No,
Oh,
no.
okay, so this number, okay.
The biggest thing is, at the end of the day, whatever MSDE tells us we're to receive in funding is what we receive in funding. And until that number is actually sent to us, we must try to do our best calculation based on what we know. The last thing that came from the MSDE said $147.5 million, and they haven't come back to revise it yet, even though there have been months of people cutting, slashing, moving, what have you. So Ms. McCourt, to her great benefit, to our great benefit, has been calculating all of this. But I mean, how a school system is supposed to build next year's budget and have it be done by the beginning of June, and the state still hasn't finalized what we're to receive. I think we're in good stead because we have very competent staff. But if you don't have that same level of understanding and competence, you're not going to know till you know what your number is, and then you're going to have to scramble with your budget to make it line up.
and for the school districts that have newer CFO or fiscal staff, I mean, this is an incredibly complex calculation. It takes into consideration student demographics between your special education and your EL students and your compensatory education students. It takes into consideration the wealth index of every LEA and the per pupil funding for each one of those different buckets of money, if you will.
So that's the state.
So that's the state. Now,
Okay.
again, this is a recap from your last board meeting. And I preface that because we'll have an update because of yesterday's commissioners meeting. So as of your last board meeting, we were looking at a decrease or flat funding from local of $130.3 million. We had a request that was submitted to the county commissioners of $5,374,000 increase. We were aware as of your last board meeting of approximately a $1 million decrease in state funding as compared to what was presented. So overall, as of your last board meeting, we were looking at a budget revenues of $288.6 million, or $6.3 million less than what was in your recommended budget. However, we received incredibly positive news with a lot of collaboration yesterday from the county commissioners. We received support from them in the amount of $137.4 million. This has not been voted on yet, but the money has been placed in their budget for action in 2 weeks on May 20th. So the $137.4 million represents a $3.1 million increase over current fiscal year funding. That coupled with the $146.5 million from the state, $2.7 million federal, and $3.4 million other funding provides us a recurring amount of $290 million. We also have $1.5 million currently slated for use of fund balance, predominantly to support the charter school as well as the bus driver retention program. Total budget at this time for revenues is $291.7 million, which represents an amount less than what was presented and approved in your recommended budget of $3.2 million. So the question becomes, what actions do we take now to balance that budget? So now we need to step back and look at what actions have you already taken within your recommended budget. So as we work to develop the budget, as you're certainly all aware, but this is more for the benefit of the viewing public, we analyze and review in great detail every budget request. We look at last year's budget is not the starting point for next year's budget. We really work with our directors and the supervisors to dive down into the details. They work hard to obtain quotes. We analyze the utilization of instructional software to make sure that that is a software product that is valuable for our students and absolutely should be incorporated in next year's budget, or is it not and it should be removed. So we spend a lot of time ensuring that what's being put forward for the board's consideration is absolutely of great benefit to the school district and students. During the course of the fiscal year, in accordance with your board policy and regulations, we obtain 3 price quotes. And if we don't like the results of those 3 price quotes, we may actually go out and obtain additional pricing under purchasing cooperative and utilizing economy of scale pricing. In your budget, we also cut 10 teaching positions, elementary, middle, and high school. For our healthcare, we incorporated changes, and these were very methodical and strategic plan changes. We incorporated Medicare Advantage this past January, and we knew that that would produce budgetary savings. We incorporated Prudent RX. That was implemented effective April 1st. And Marathon, the Employee Health Center, in partnership with the county government, we rolled that out last April, so we've had a first full year impact of that, which will result in claims reductions for next year. Your budget included a 5% increase. I have more information to share in just a moment on that, though. Your budget also included the full implementation of the building maintenance automation system. The current fiscal year's budget included a one-time contribution to stand up that system. However, as a result of standing up that system, we anticipate increased efficiencies in our maintenance operations going forward. But we do have that additional shortfall that we need to address beyond your recommended budget. Therefore, we have cut 3 cabinet positions. We have cut the Assistant Superintendent of Supporting Services. We have cut the Chief of Equity Engagement and Early Access, and we have cut the Chief Strategic Officer. And it's important to ensure that we're setting the tone at the top. So we're not just making cuts in the school level, we're making cuts in the central office at the cabinet level. We're cutting 4 IRTs, a reduction of 1 to every elementary school, with the exception of our Title I schools. We have cut 3 administrative intern positions, and we have cut up to 15 teacher positions. That is inclusive of the prior 10 positions that we've mentioned. We have removed one-to-one technology in kindergarten through 1st grade. We have relocated the virtual academy and turned the virtual academy existing building back over to the county government effective July 1st. And we have moved the environmental education from the Elms to Southerly, and we are continuing to evaluate and put in place additional reductions in the relocatables. What you see before you is the existing organizational chart as per the FY25 adopted budget. And you'll see on here that there are 3 cabinet level positions of Deputy Superintendent, Assistant Superintendent, and then there are 6 chief positions within your current year's adopted budget. However, going into next year's budget, this is a much more streamlined approach and consists of not 3 deputy and assistant superintendent positions, but 2. Not 6 chief positions, but 4. Additional budgetary savings have been recognized due to implemented strategies with regard to our healthcare. And I'm bringing this up as round 2 because we knew that we would recognize some budgetary savings in here. Thus, we incorporated the 5% increase. What actually materialized was just a 1.6% increase in our premiums for next fiscal years. And how that happened was not just as a result of the Medicare Advantage plan being offered to our retirees. And I must add that this is due to a lot of collaboration and partnership with both our retirees group as well as EASMIG and SMASA. We couldn't have made these changes without that collaboration and partnership and their support. In addition to the Prudent RX and the Marathon, we also had a stop loss insurance. So our Care First plan includes our fixed admin fee. It includes our claims component. Our claims component is the component that is incorporated for a retroactive settlement. And then we have another fixed component, and that's our stop loss insurance. And our stop loss insurance is comparable to your car insurance, whereas it's a flat rate. Whatever you put out is what you put out. And what we found over the most recent years is that our stop loss costs have actually decreased. The claims cost to Care First has actually decreased. Because there were so many moving parts, I have historically worked directly with Care First and the underwriters because I like being in the weeds and truly understanding our numbers that were being charged. But because there were so many moving parts this year, we hired a third-party independent consulting firm, Bolton Partners, to assess the cost and make sure that the amount that we're budgeting for next year makes sense and that we haven't missed anything. And I asked them to specifically focus on our stop loss insurance because I knew that our claims costs were decreasing in that particular area. They agreed. Therefore, they negotiated with Care First and recognized a 12% reduction, which sounds fantastic. However, I didn't like a 12% reduction because I truly felt that the number could have been lower. So Bolton, on our behalf, went back and renegotiated, and we recognized a 25% reduction in our stop loss insurance, which is staggering. We've never seen that here. The good part about this is that becomes our baseline, not only for 26, but also recurring baseline in the future budgets. As a result of our continued education to our employees, we go out to every school in the month of May during open enrollment and educate on triple option and HMO. We want our employees and our retirees to make the best decisions for themselves and their dependents, but we want to make sure that they are well educated on the differences of the two plans. As a result of that education, we've had a continued transition of folks from our triple option plan, which is slightly more expensive, to our HMO plan. A compilation of all of these factors has resulted in us being able to reduce our budget for next fiscal year to make up that final gap.
So what does it all mean?
So, with all that being said, because it was important to lay the foundation for how we got here, local funding, we have support from our county commissioners of $137.4 million, or a $3.1 million increase. State funding, an increase of $3.1 million. Federal funding, an increase of $19,000, and other funding sources, an increase of $1 million. Total increases in our recurring funds of $7.3 million, which will allow us to fully support the negotiated agreement on behalf of all of our employees for fiscal 2026. So with that,
Questions?
are there any questions?
Josh?
I don't have any questions. I want to say that I'm grateful that the county commissioners gave us some more funding this year, and I like what you said about the, we didn't just focus on cutting teachers. We also cut 3 top admin positions because it starts at the top. So thank you.
My question is, so when we receive our final budget before we approve, we'll see those changes?
Yes.
That is
In
correct.
there.
Yes.
The most what will come before you is the most recent and accurate numbers that we have from
And
all
and
agencies.
she'll update, she'll give us a sheet with all the changes in the budget book.
Okay.
Yes, you'll
Okay.
get the formal budget book and a detailed sheet of absolutely every change that was made, down to the dollar.
Okay, no, thank you.
On an Excel spreadsheet,
Yes, ma'am.
not a Google sheet.
Yes, and
Mary, do
Excel.
you have any questions?
I prefer Excel.
No questions, but I want to show my thanks for you, Mrs. McCourt, and your team, the superintendent and the board, the county commissioners, and everyone who worked, and our employee groups who work in collaboration to come up with a plan that would work. The superintendent started in his own area, and he cut top positions, so it starts at the top. Also, we educated our employee groups about the healthcare options from triple options to HMO. And in the final analysis, we have enough money when the commissioners vote on the budget to fund our employee groups. And that's one of the main priorities of the board, to make sure that we pay our employees an excellent wage, well, I say a very good wage. So I'm thankful for all of us working together in SMCPS to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you to you and your team for your diligence, as always, in not just accepting the information given to you, but really digging down, seeing if the numbers do make sense, and if there are areas where there could be adjustments, that those are made in a timely fashion, so that the number we go to the commissioners with is the absolute. Question for you. I know you talked about one of the ways that you ensure that our employees are well covered with respect to health care that works for their particular situation, that all of them come in and and are educated on a yearly basis, which didn't happen in the past. That you have, for a number of years, been bringing everybody in, making sure that they fully understand the options and what it means for them. Do you do that same thing with retirees? Because I know that we certainly have St. Mary's County South down in South Carolina with a lot of people retiring and moving out of the area. So how do you make sure our retirees are as well educated as our active employees?
So that's an excellent question. When we were rolling out Medicare Advantage Plan for our retirees, we offered both virtual information sessions as well as in-person information sessions. The first call for the information session, in-person one, was a standing room only, so we divided it up into 2 sessions at the very last minute and had to call all of these retirees, and it was still standing room only. There was a great interest in the program and truly understanding the program. We didn't force any of the retirees into this. We rolled everyone in, however, giving every retiree the option to opt out and maintain the existing plan. We actually had 580 retirees that opted into the plan. So that was staggering, because we also said we'd like you to try it, but if it doesn't work for you, you have the option to switch back after trying it for a year. We offer opportunities. Our Heather Huff actually goes out and meets with the retiree group. We require every employee and every retiree to actually enroll on an annual basis. We do not do an auto enrollment because we want to make sure that they're all getting that information. So for our retirees that are out of the area, for our annual regular enrollment outside of the Medicare Advantage, which is on a calendar year, and the rest of the plan is on a fiscal year basis, we offer virtual opportunities to join our meetings.
Wonderful. I thank you for that, because I think it's truly important to make sure everybody absolutely understands what their options are, and the fact that you have offered up to our retirees basically a no penalty. If you don't like it, you can switch back. I think makes people more likely to try it for a year, see if it works for them, and then go from there. So much appreciated in that respect.
And I must add, many thanks to Bryn Costner and Heather Huff, who are absolutely doing all of that work.
And truly appreciated, so please take our thanks back to everyone in fiscal services, because, from going from yesterday afternoon's budget work session for the commissioners to this PowerPoint and understanding fully what those changes will mean are important. I know that, in a couple of weeks when we see the sheet, to understand that the gap in funding from what we asked for, what we needed, to what we're getting, there is certainly an impact. But it is, and we've said this before, we are on our third 4-year negotiated agreement with our associations. That is unheard of in the state of Maryland. But that consistency, that trust, that ability for everyone to understand exactly what the cost is going to be, what the value is going to be for employees, I think cannot be overstated. And so many thanks to the commissioners for understanding that 3.1 is 3.1, and there's no hidden funding. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
And many thanks to Ms. Van Cleve,
Yes.
County Government CFO, for her partnership and collaboration and sharing of information along the way.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so with that, our next board meeting will be on Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, with executive session at 5 and the open meeting beginning at 6. So we are adjourned, but we do have a